everybody, and welcome back to the Slow Smoke Pigskin podcast. I'm still Aaron. That's still Drew. We took a little hiatus because kids had spring break, life happened, and we don't get paid to do this, so we have to figure it out between
It's a good
our
thing we
real
don't.
jobs and kids' extracurricular activities. So let's catch up on a whole bunch of news that happened since last time we recorded. Some of it might be a little bit old, but oh well. A little bit ago, early odds for next season came out. The Super Bowl favorites were the 49ers, Chiefs, and Ravens. The 49ers opened at plus 550. The 49ers opened at plus 500. The Chiefs opened up at plus 750, and the Ravens opened up at plus 850. All of those lines have shifted by now, I'm sure, but those are the favorites. And then the longest shots at this time are the Titans, Commanders, and Panthers. Any surprises there? Not so much.
Not even a little bit.
I had never heard of this before, but apparently the NFL has a performance-based pay system, which has a chunk of money every year to spread between players and teams to help give extra money to high-performing, lower drafted or lower paid players. So there's some calculation that goes behind it to get you some extra money based on your base salary, your percentage of playing time, and whatnot. Brock Purdy, his base salary for last year was only $870,000. And
only.
I mean, for an NFL starting quarterback, that is, pocket change normally.
Yeah.
So on a base salary of $870, he got a bonus through this performance-based pay system of $740,000. Like
doubled up.
Not far from doubling up. So good for him. That's awesome because he deserves it. The one of, if not the lowest person who got this bonus, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, since he had a giant salary and played, I think it was 4 plays for the year, he got $81.14.
What do you do with that kind of check that comes in? Do you even know it's there? Like, is it this coaster now? Like for his beard, it's just getting soaked. Like, what's going on?
He doesn't even care. Like, if that
he rolled it up and smoked it. Like, what?
If it wasn't a direct deposit, he definitely didn't spend the time to deposit that money.
I might frame it if I'm him and just put it up and be like, that Achilles.
It was so funny because when I first read it and it said 81, I thought there was like it was missing an M or a K to show that it was like hundreds or millions or no, it was just $81. I was like, that's fantastic. As I said, it's been a while since we recorded, so there's been a lot of things happening in the news. We're going to talk about Stephon Diggs traded from the Bills to the Texans for 2025 second, and then the Bills threw a couple of later picks in with this deal. This is a surprise. I mean,
when this happened, we talked about it, and it doesn't make sense. Like,
I don't get it. Like,
no.
Why did the Texans need a third? I guess they want depth behind. Now they've got Nico, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs, but to me, that just kills the fantasy value of all three because who's going to have a good week that week?
Yeah.
And now Josh Allen doesn't have a number. His best receiver is Curtis Samuel. Like, I don't know. I guess maybe they looked at the Chiefs and said, hey, they didn't have a real number one wide receiver. We don't need one either. I think the Bills GM actually came out the other day and said something about like, we don't think we need a number one receiver to win. Well, it's like, yeah, what else is he gonna say? Is he gonna be like, yeah, no, fuck, we're in trouble because we don't have no.
We had a number one receiver and we didn't win, so let's try the opposite.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this squarely puts them looking at a first round draft pick of a receiver. The big question is, does it result in them trading up even further? Don't know.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Rashee Rice. I mean, if you haven't heard about this, all sorts of drama, vehicle accident. He's had, 8 sets of charges brought against him, a lawsuit or two from people involved.
Did you hear they're coming out with a new Grand Theft Auto Dallas, and he's on the cover?
Nice. I like it. I like it. Um,
This pisses me
there's
off. This pisses me off because all my receivers are. Going in. I was good, and now it's like one after the other. I'm just like, come on, guys.
so I don't think, I mean, he's not gonna do time. He's not gonna, but I wish I could remember the account. I've heard people talk about this lawyer who's also up in the fantasy space who likes to talk about what these things will result in. And his guess was that we're probably looking at a 1 to 2 game suspension for this. So I'd be shocked if he doesn't get something, but I don't think it's going to be hugely altering.
But if for some reason like he's not charged with anything, does he get the suspension still? Like this is taking a very long time.
The NFL can choose to suspend a player even if there's not charges, if it's still considered conduct detrimental to the league.
For sure.
But I don't think it's going to be extended. Like I said, maybe a game or two and go from there. Raheem Mostert signed an extension with the Dolphins. At 32 years old, that guarantees him being around. That hurts Devon Achan's fantasy value potentially, but I've heard that people are calling Achan a first-round pick. Or an RB1, excuse me, not a first round pick, a running back 1 in fantasy, and it's like, yeah, he had a good year, but it was, big play after big play, and that's not sustainable. He's not going to have the goal line role. I don't personally. I'd have a hard time being comfortable with him as an RB1.
Yeah, like a third or fourth round pick if we were doing a redraft, like RB2 for sure. But I wouldn't spend RB1 trade money with whatever you want, or not trade pick money, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, but I mean, I guess weirder things have happened.
I've got this on the list. Josh Reynolds signs with Broncos. They need somebody to throw to since they got rid of Jerry Jeudy. Cortland Sutton's apparently pissed about his contract situation. That franchise is so hamstrung by the effects of Russ Wilson not being any good with the amount of money they paid him and stuff.
I did read something today that said that Peyton is all in on selling the house to get a first-round quarterback.
I heard the same thing, but if I was the GM or owner, I would look at how Peyton left New Orleans when he left in cap hell and pick hell and just said, I'm retiring, bye. Right. I wouldn't let him do that, especially because unless they manage to get to the top 3, I don't know if I believe in that. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
J.K. Dobbins, at the time I originally put this note here, he was just visiting with a couple of teams, but he ended up signing with the Chargers on a 1-year deal. So we're just bringing the Ravens to the West Coast now, apparently. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards back in with Greg Roman, the previous Ravens OC. By the way, if you didn't know this, Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh have been living in RV park in Huntington Beach.
Fantastic.
I guess Harbaugh's family is finally coming to LA, so now they're gonna have to get a house. But they've just been living that RV life for a little bit. It's pretty funny. J.K. Dobbins, he's got a 1-year deal. It's gonna be cheap. He's coming off injury. I think it's his prove it shot.
How old is he?
I want to say probably 25, 26. Okay.
I mean,
he's young enough, but he's coming off of injury after injury. So, but they've got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, which worked before.
Right. And you don't have to use him as much as like it doesn't have to be the every down, 20 30 carries a game type of thing. So you can try to like nurse him along.
Yep. I've got a note here that says Zeke may be back to Dallas, but that was before they signed Royce Freeman. Our running back room right now is Royce Freeman, Rico Dowdle, and Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
To me, it points that the Cowboys have to be drafting a running back early, but we'll see.
Or they're just going to pass the ball all season long.
But who do they have for receivers either? They got CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. Who's our number 2? I don't know what the Cowboys are doing. Jerry Jones with his all-in.
I'm all in.
Baloney. Like, I'm so frustrated as a Cowboys fan at the moment. Caleb Williams.
But you still back the Cowboys? Okay.
I'm still gonna it's been my team for 30 years. Like, I'm not gonna ditch out. It doesn't mean they can't frustrate me.
I know.
Caleb Williams, I got a note here, talented but drama queen. I forgot what happened.
He went to the USC game and had a pink phone. He had on pink nail polish. I think he even maybe lipstick. I don't know. But just everything that he's doing really irritates me. And my brother-in-law is an SC fan, and he is not happy with him. Like, he's like, I don't want him. He's a SC fan and a Raiders fan. He's like, I wouldn't want him on the Raiders. Like, he just thinks that he's more drama than it's worth. Which we'll get to that in a little bit when we talk about where he's going to go in the draft.
Yep. All right. Steelers signed Cordero Patterson. Oh, great. Cordero Patterson followed Arthur Smith. So now you have to worry about Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris getting, touches usurped by. Now, that being said, I'm going to jump. No, actually, we could talk about it now. So, unless they're talking about using him as a return man, because he used to be a great returner. But that does bring me up to the NFL has changed the rules on kickoffs to go to the XFL style. So it should make a lot more returns this year, which will be fun considering last year such a low percentage of balls were returned. So it could bring some fantasy value to certain kick returners and or defense special teams. Could be putting up more points because of it. What was
his name for Chicago?
Devin Hester.
Hester, that's right.
Devin Hester.
Yeah, that was he. I had him on my team one year, and he didn't do anything as a receiver, but I scored a bunch of points because he kept returning the ball and scoring touchdowns. Yeah. So that's a huge aspect.
Yep. Another couple other rule changes the NFL made. They banned the hip drop tackle. Okay, fine. And one sort of important thing is that they are moving back the trade deadline 1 week. Instead of week 8, it'll be week 9. Cool. Maybe, hopefully, we can get an exciting trade deadline. Dak. Speaking of the Cowboys doing weird crap, he might not get an extension. It's his last year on his contract. We haven't extended Dak. We haven't extended CeeDee. We haven't extended Micah. Micah and CeeDee both didn't show up to the voluntary OTAs. Cowboys are very much frustrating me right now, and I would like to not talk about them more, please.
Okay. I won't ask my question then.
Well, ask your question.
Do you want Dak as your quarterback moving forward?
Yes.
How many? You don't want
Here's the problem. Who are you going to replace him with? That's always the problem. That's always the problem.
Anybody.
Dak,
he's not going to win you a Super Bowl.
But Dak, would you say that Dak is a better than average quarterback, which means he's top 16?
Yes.
Okay. How many top 16 quarterbacks are available? That's the problem. If you let him go, what are you replacing him with?
I'm not saying let him. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know.
That's the way I see it. Anyways,
I just don't go all in on Dak. I can't.
Okay. Well,
fantasy wise, he's great. Which is obviously what we're talking about. We should be talking about. But as far as he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So you need to figure out how to get a different quarterback. It's not that difficult. You can trade. You can bring Tom Brady back. He's probably better than Dak. He'll probably win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, anyways.
He didn't like that one.
Russ is going to be the starter in Pittsburgh. They've come out and said that's fine. Maybe to be the beginning of the season. I'll be pretty shocked if he makes it through the whole season as starter and Justin Fields isn't in. My guess is Russ will start the beginning of the year while Justin Fields learns a little bit, and whenever the Steelers bye week, they swap the Fields. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, pour one out. Cheers to that man. Hell of a defensive player. Not completely fantasy relevant, but at least Gino doesn't have to yell, "Oh my God!" as he's yelling as Aaron Donald's running at him again.
Yes.
Speaking of people retiring, Matt Ryan is officially retired now. He had not played for a season, but he hadn't filled out the paperwork.
Yeah.
A podcast I listened to, they had a bet between who was going to be out of the league sooner, Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz. Matt Ryan officially retired, and Carson Wentz signed with the Chiefs as a backup. Maybe
I would do that.
Another ring. He gets another ring now.
Yeah.
Once again, not as the starter.
Exactly. Smart man.
Yeah.
He's gonna have more Super Bowl rings in it than 90% of the quarterbacks, and he doesn't even have to play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Speaking of the Chiefs, they re-signed Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They got him on a much cheaper deal. They decided not to take his 5th-year option and instead signed him to a 1-year deal. I think that's very good fantasy news for Isaiah Pacheco. The fact that they're bringing CEH back as depth instead of getting somebody in the draft or looking at a bigger free agent.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb restructured his contract, which is going to give him a little less money, but still gave him, I think he was supposed to get paid something like $16 million this year. And with incentives, he can make up to like 12 with the restructured contract. But I was as the Nick Chubb manager in Dynasty, I was very worried about him getting cut because of that contract. I think this is good. And, he's such a good guy, in real life and a good fit for the locker room and such that I think that was a good move there. Honestly, his fantasy value is still going to be in question. I mean, he's coming off a absolutely major knee injury, and he's, I think, 28 years old. So it'll be tough, but at least this way, he's not going to be cut. Another person coming off injury, Anthony Richardson. He's been throwing, coming off the shoulder injury last year. He says he's on a mission to return and, come back to form. Yeah, great. Isn't that your job? Of course
you got picked. Yeah, that's why you're there.
Yeah,
as a quarterback. And yeah.
This piece of news I just thought was funny that Derek Carr is looking forward to facing the Raiders this season so that he can try and start a fight with Max Crosby.
First of all, that's not a good idea.
No, absolutely
very entertaining
idea. I'd love to see it. Probably because Max Crosby would just murder him, but it'd be great. Darren Waller hasn't made a decision on whether he's playing or not. With how bad the Giants look and how I don't think they have much of a chance this year and they got so many problems, I wouldn't want to come back if I was him.
No.
And that take my Cowboys fandom out of it. Like the Giants look like a giant shit show this year.
And then like all these rumors with their quarterback who's getting wasted I don't know, he's doing like there's this and that, like I don't know what
that doing. Contract that they gave him was a horrible idea. But the way the contract was $160 million over 4 years, but they have an out after 2. So I think they might be looking at just trying to get through this year and then dumping him next year. We'll see. I've heard rumors of that, the Giants have a pick at 6 or have the 6th pick in the draft. which everybody thought they were looking at receiver. Maybe they look at quarterback because they would hope to not have a pick as high next year. But at the same time, with how bad they look, I don't know that they won't have a pick higher than sixth. And the question is Dable going to have his job if they are that low again? Um, Next piece of news: Devonta Smith gets an extension with the Eagles, 3 years, $75 million extension with 51 guaranteed. Guess that means he ain't going anywhere.
He's not.
There was I had doubts in my mind, but this
They're all in on him.
He's been considered, a super high value dynasty player that I'm not going to lie. Even I actually am the manager of him.
You're welcome.
Because of you. Because I gave you Rashee Rice in that trade. Hey, you got Kyron, who's being projected as a top 4 running back.
He's a great receiver, but when
behind AJ Brown.
Exactly. That's the problem. If he's on a team where he's the number 1, yeah, but
I'm not sure what this did for his dynasty value, whether it made it better, worse, stayed the same, because AJ Brown, I think, got a contract and he's still there for a couple more years. So
you can't
just eat off each other's plates for a while.
Yeah, you have to just kind of figure out when is he, which team are they playing and which defense, the scheme that they're it takes a lot more into it to figure out who's gonna hit that week.
Plus Dallas Goedert, on top of it, they've and Saquon Barkley now.
Yes,
not that Jalen Hurts has traditionally thrown to the running back, but they have an option now. And they've never had a goal line back like Saquon. Does that take away from the tush push? Or if it's 1 or 2 yards, they still go to Hurts with the tush push, and if it's 2+, now they go to Saquon? Because if I remember correctly, DeAndre Swift last year actually got a fair amount of carries from within the 5, but he kept going down at the 1 when he got the ball within the 5. Maybe Saquon finishes those and Jalen doesn't get as many. And Kelsey's gone. Does that change how effective the tush push is?
No, I think because they have their backup center, who now is the starter center. He's been there for a couple of years, and he's been taught by.
He's been teached.
He's been learned. He's learned well.
He's been teaching him.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the main list of news I got. Speaking of Kelsey, God, man, that guy's having fun, and I want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Go to WrestleMania, and then they had a Kelsey Fest thing at University, or it was supposed to be at University of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But it'd just be fun to hang out with those guys.
Man.
That being said, I'm starting. Well, I think I relate and want to be friends with Jason more than I do Travis. Jason Kelsey just seems like a great guy to hang out with.
I kind of feel like Travis gets us into the place, but we want to go hang out with Jason.
Exactly. I like it.
We get to fly. We get to fly in Travis's plane, but we get to hang out with Jason. That's the whole plan.
That is a perfect plan. I love it. All
right. Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, but by the way, just mention, in case for some reason you don't know this, NFL draft is what am I talking about? Not even 1 week. Today's Friday. The NFL draft is 6 days away. I am super stoked for this to finally happen, and we can stop talking about it and see where players go.
Right.
That being said, the main topic, we were going to do a Superflex rookie mock draft. We're going to do 2 rounds. We're doing Superflex so that it's not exactly what our league would do, because we don't want to give away all of our secrets, because we are not, once again, getting paid for this. If we were a podcast that was my livelihood, I would be
Yes.
willing to give up more information.
100%.
But I would still like to keep something secret. So we're gonna do a 2-round Superflex rookie mock draft. Just because that way it's not quite our league settings and we can just talk about who we,
It's not, but we will be Superflex the year after.
2 years. Yeah.
2 years.
But just to throw it out, one of the interesting things about doing a mock draft before the NFL draft is like we're just going to give the disclaimer that all of this is going to change.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
not
exactly.
every single one, but a whole lot of these are going to change depending on landing spot.
Right.
Because the NFL draft is craziness, right? You've got mock drafters on both, fantasy mock drafts, real, NFL mock drafts, and the hit rate on these is so low. Like what everybody projects, like if you're one of the best people doing this, the Mel Kipers, Daniel Jeremiah, Peter Schrager, whatever, it's like the best guys get like 15% right. It's insane.
Correct.
So
it depends on where is the best fit for the player at the time. And that's kind of what changes everything because we don't know that yet. We don't know what team is picking it. So
and everybody sees players differently. Like not only, obviously we're looking at it from a fantasy standpoint, which is different than an NFL standpoint, which is different than every other standpoint. And like every GM and coach combination looks at things differently. What's their goals? Do we care about offense? Do we care about defense? Everything like I'm hearing projected now is they expect a lot more offensive players in the first round this year than in the past. But who knows if that's what really happens? We'll find out next week, and that's why I'm so excited for it.
It is exciting.
Of course, Skylar's got a baseball game during the draft, and I'm gonna have to be coaching her game with an earbud in, listening to the draft, and start cheering for something.
Don't cheer for the wrong team.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna get myself in trouble, but oh well, I'll figure it out.
At this point in time in our lives, the football is more important.
Yeah. So yeah, my 8-year-old.
Hopefully, Skylar doesn't listen to this.
She'll listen, but her baseball is much less serious at this point. So
money on the line.
Drew and I both put in who we would each take in order for a 12-team first 2-round draft. We're going to talk about who we each picked, talked about why we see things a little bit differently. That being said, pick 101, Drew. Who you got?
Caleb Williams.
Hey, guess what? So do I. In a super flex, I don't. He normally you could argue that a rookie quarterback is not going to be productive year one. Caleb Williams is coming into a better situation for a rookie quarterback than you've seen in a very long time with the supporting cast he has around him. Because of that, I find it very hard to look at anyone in a super flex other than Caleb Williams at 101.
Yes, yeah. I don't know. I don't like Caleb Williams.
I don't like him.
I will if he's available, I will not pick him. Just telling everybody right now. Get prepared.
You're at 104, so yeah. Anyway.
And 105.
Okay, so we'll talk at 102. Who you got at 102?
I put Drake May at 102.
So I put Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr. Once again, all of this can change based on landing spot. I think Drew's is the more chalk take. Most people go, for the quarterbacks in a superflex league. My argument is if you look at the recent history of rookie quarterbacks, let's look at the hit rate. Your number one picks. Trevor Lawrence, is he worth it? Whereas, I know
he is a above average fantasy. He will he's going to get you. He won't get you 40 points, but he won't get you 10 points either.
Right, but that's why traditional knowledge has gone Superflex, go quarterback. You can have a quarterback for 10 years, blah blah blah. Right? My 102 is Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's a wide receiver who I am very confident can be a wide receiver one and could literally still last you 10 years like a quarterback could.
In
So
our league specifically, I could see Marvin Harrison Jr. going one. It's a
because we're not
possibility.
super flex yet, absolutely.
We're not, but even if we were, I could still. I mean, correct,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. 103. We both got
Same.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. Yeah.
I mean, this is assuming because the thing about Jaden Daniels is whether he ends up at pick 2 to the Patriots or pick 2 to the Commanders or pick 3 to the Patriots, he's may not be as good of an NFL quarterback, but as a fantasy option with his running ability, I think it puts him way up there. So
I see him being Justin Fields. Inconsistent.
Yeah, that's possible. But
which is why I put Drake May ahead of him.
But Justin Fields, not this past year, but the year before, I think was the QB6. So in fantasy. So real life versus fantasy are two different things. All right, 104. This is where you finally got Marvin Harrison because you took him after.
Yeah.
That being said, I still didn't pick Drake May yet because I believe Drake May is a somewhat of a raw project from everything I hear. So I actually took Malik Neighbors here at 104. He's an explosive wide receiver. I've heard debates that he should be wide receiver 1 over Marvin Harrison Jr. I completely disagree from what I've seen of these two players. Malik Neighbors might be more explosive than Marvin Harrison, but Marvin Harrison does everything well and is so pro ready.
Anyway. I've heard Odunze as possibly jumping Harrison at the same time. Now, this was a month ago when I did this, and so things have probably changed, and I haven't kept up with it. But I've heard those 3 wide receivers, like if you pick them, you're not going to get it's not a bad pick by any means.
By the way, we both have Odunze at 105.
But my point is that Neighbors, I don't have Neighbors in the top 5.
Oh yeah, that's true. Odunze, everything I've seen, he is so smooth. He is going to be a stud.
Yeah.
If this was last year, any of these 3 guys, I think, would be the number 1. Like over Jackson Smith and Jigba, over everybody. Yeah. And Jackson Smith and Jigba last year was looked at easily the number 1, and I think any of these 3 guys beat him.
I agree 100%.
So we both had Odunze at 105, 106. I finally got around to taking Drake May here. Who you got?
I got JJ McCarthy.
I'm assuming you think he's being traded up for and being taken as a top 5 pick if you're assuming that.
I mean, I think that when it comes down to it, that's because it's a super flex.
Yep.
I think that's where you pick a quarterback.
I haven't. I don't know. JJ McCarthy right now is a lot of hype, and I don't know if there's proof that I'm confident in yet.
JJ McCarthy is a game manager.
Which is fine. You can be a successful quarterback doing that.
100%. And again, the common denominator here is it depends on where he gets picked. Mm-hmm. If he if he gets picked to a team. An example, and this is probably not going to happen. Let's just say, let's say he got picked by the Packers, right? He's not going to play right away, so there's no reason he's going to drop in a fantasy draft. So it depends on where he goes. But I still think he is. I think he is NFL ready.
Well, see. All right. Anyways,
yes.
107. Who you got at 107?
I got Malik Neighbors.
Okay, so you finally got Malik Neighbors there. So, I mean, you didn't drop low on him. The reality is he's going to be one of the top 3 wide receivers taken. And in all likelihood, all 3 of these guys are probably going in the top 10 of the NFL draft. So, yeah. I, at 107, took Brock Bowers because unless he goes to an absolutely garbage situation, this kid is far and away the most talented tight end. He's been hyped for years. If he goes to a halfway decent situation, it's one of those things where there's a limited number of fantasy relevant tight ends.
All he needs is a quarterback to throw him the ball.
Yeah,
That's all he needs.
A lot of mocks have him going to the Jets at number 10 because the Jets haven't had a tight end. If he goes with Aaron Rodgers, yeah, could be interesting. All right, so 108. Now you got Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
And I finally got around to taking JJ McCarthy here, once again, assuming he gets put in a good spot and gets to be a starting quarterback. The ironic part is our top 8 picks are the same players, all 8, just slightly adjusted order. Here's where we start to differ a bit more on some of this stuff. So at 109, who you got?
Adonai.
Just call him AD.
AD Mitchell.
It is Hebrew, which is just
so you tell me how to say it.
It's actually Adonai.
Okay.
Which means our Lord, but that's anyway. Okay, I don't want to talk about this. So you went with Adonai Mitchell, who's super fast, explosive, but I don't know. He was a big play guy in college, but I don't know how consistent he'll be. We'll see. I took a more steady player in Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey's not going to be the superstar, but he could have a very solid long career, is how I look at him, and is a very talented dude.
Yes.
I will say, I sit there and debate that. I know I put it here, but at the same time, he also had a bunch of injury issues in college, which worries me a little bit. But dude is super talented. All right, 110.
Xavier Worthy.
Oh, you took Mr. Fastman. My concern with Mr. Fastman is that he's 165 pounds. And the NFL is
How much does Devontae Smith weigh?
175.
I mean, come on. He's gonna be 175 by the time the draft comes around.
We'll see. I mean,
by the time the season starts, he's gonna be that. Yeah.
So the thing that worries you about that is like you hope he's not the next John Ross, right? Super fast.
But you hope that he's the next.
But Xavier Worthy, in addition to being fast, was a very quality wide receiver in college too. And like apparently he's come out with quotes and said, you know, after people are making comments about him only being 165 pounds, he's like, y'all, I've been 165 pounds the entire time I played in college and still performed. Like, This isn't new.
College is different.
Yeah.
But if you can't catch him, it doesn't matter how much he weighs.
Yeah. I here took Brian Thomas Jr. I didn't love Brian Thomas Jr.'s combine. It was, I felt like he dropped some balls, but a lot of hype sounds like people are looking at him as the 4th or 5th best wide receiver. He's going to get likely taken in mid to late first round, and which could mean that you're put in a good spot, right? If you're later in the round, you're potentially going to teams. You have to worry about the guys who are going, like, if you're right at the end of the round, right? There could be such a drastic difference if you're taking at 32 to the Chiefs or 33 to the Panthers.
Right.
That could be such a huge difference. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so pick 111. We are very differing here. What you got?
I'm getting to it. Sorry. I am at Troy Franklin.
Yeah, wide receiver out of Oregon. Okay. I actually at 111 have Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State. However, I'm going to qualify this. The reason I put him here was because when I was doing this, I'm assuming he's being drafted in the 2nd round by the Cowboys. And if he gets that job, I think that makes him a high
That makes him an
volume.
RB1.
I don't know about quite that. That being said, I can't remember the number, but I think it's somewhere between 1 and 3 average every year. There's a rookie running back in the RB1 each season. But if Jonathan Brooks goes to the Cowboys or something and gets that role, to me, this is really pretty much the first running back taken off the board. Probably looking at somewhere back end of the first in a Superflex league.
Yeah. I mean, it's
You got
I understand your point. Like I went with another wide receiver that I thought was
yeah. See,
I didn't have any running backs in the first round.
yeah, I got Troy Franklin a lot later. He was productive at Oregon. He's super skinny. He didn't have a great combine. I just don't know if I believe him at the NFL level, but is what it is. All right, 112, last pick of the first round.
I went with another quarterback, Michael Penix.
Yeah, once again, I get it in the Superflex league. That's going to be real landing spot dependent. Is he getting a real shot? Whatnot. This is where I finally took Xavier Worthy. I I gave you a little bit of crap about taking him as a speedster 2 picks ahead of now. I think he'll be he's got a shot as a useful NFL wide receiver. So
Yeah.
I've got him now too.
Yeah.
All right.
And that rounds out the first round. But I mean, like, again, where they land, what team they land with, all depends on where they go in any type of draft.
Yep. Like I said, as we've said multiple times already,
Yes.
as the NFL draft happens, this order is going to shift drastically.
This was just fun for us to do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So starting off the second round.
Pick one of second round for me was Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah. So it's only 3 picks later than I took him. I talked about why I liked him and why I think he's got a shot. So.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, is 3 picks that big of a deal? I mean,
No.
First pick of the second round is the same as the second to last pick of the first round. Like, it's it's almost interchangeable.
Yep. And this is where I took Michael Penix.
Yeah.
We're
not that far off.
Nah. All right. Again, 202.
Lad McConkey.
Yep. This is where you got him. And this is where I took Adonai Mitchell. I think Adonai Mitchell does have a potential to be a strong wide receiver. It's just he's going to be a more landing spot. And then the other problem with Adonai Mitchell is he seemed to take plays off in college, and it'll be interesting to see if he gets that better discipline in the NFL or not. And that's
no one's going to let him take a play off.
Right.
In the NFL, like that, if that's the case, and that's the rumor that he's got going on, like the veteran, whether it's the left tackle veteran, whether it's the cornerback veteran, like who's going up again, like he's gonna learn he can't take a play off.
Yeah.
The NFL, come on.
Yep. Next pick, bud. 203.
You're gonna give me crap for this one. I picked Bo Nix.
Yeah, Bo Nix is such a mystery to me right now because I've heard talk of him going like top 12, and I've heard talk of him going round 2 or 3. Like he obviously he had a hugely productive and college career, highest career completion percentage, but that's because he liked to throw screens. Okay, timeout, my bad.
His biggest asset, but I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but he's played so many college games that translates into NFL ready faster.
Yep.
So is he better than I couldn't tell you, like, I don't think he's better than JJ McCarthy as far as like raw talent goes.
Yep.
No. But does he understand football, and has he played enough games to where if someone like the Commanders gets, like, obviously the Commanders are going to pick a different quarterback, but let's just say in that type of organization where they need a quarterback, he could go in and do something now, which is
So,
why he's a little bit higher on my
so
spectrum versus.
a real interesting landing spot I had heard for him in the past was the Broncos, because if he went
Sure.
into the Sean Payton offense
Yeah.
to play a Drew Brees sort of role where
Uh-huh.
he doesn't have to be a huge passer and whatnot, it could be interesting. But then, as you mentioned earlier, these reports came out of Peyton talking about being all in for a quarterback. It's like, well, 12, I think the Broncos pick at 12. 12 seems a little early for Knicks, but is that what they're defining as all in? Or are they talking about going higher and getting somebody else? So,
But you have
but
to, the only thing you have to think about is that when we are doing our draft, we're not picking linemen, we're not picking defensive players.
Mhm.
So when you're talking about the NFL draft at 12, I don't see that.
Yeah, no, I think 12, that's my point. I think 12 is too early for
But he's
Knicks.
no, Bo Nix is going to be a late second, early third
No,
in
no, no. I
the
think
in
he'll
the
be
NFL
earlier. No,
draft.
I think he's
No,
earlier than that.
you think so?
I've heard him as like potentially an early, late first, early second. But the
Okay,
problem is to who at that point. So
okay, okay.
I don't know. I get it. Like he's got some potential. He's got a lot of
He doesn't have the
experience, like
best
you said.
arm. He's not the
But he is
fastest, but he can run and he's accurate. So it's like, eh.
But that is one thing about Bo Nix and Michael Penix is they're both coming in as older prospects, because this is the folks, that dealt with the COVID years and spent extra time in college because of it. Um,
I like Penix.
yeah, I've
I
heard
think
a
he
lot of
could.
good things, but
I like him. Like not necessarily better than any of the top other 3 or 4 quarterbacks, but he is definitely going to be the fifth quarterback off the board.
yeah.
Anyways.
All right. So wait, we didn't even say who my
Oh yeah,
203
that's right.
pick was still yet.
Sorry.
So I got Jonathan Brooks here. If Jonathan Brooks didn't have wasn't coming off an ACL, I think we could argue that he'd be way higher than he is. But the reality is if you're in a dynasty draft, you may not get him for this year. It's questionable, or a slow year, but then he could blow up. I don't know. He's a bit of a gamble. Another one. It depends on where he goes. Like I said, if he went to the Cowboys because Jerry Jones wanted to take a Texas boy, like the only thing that stopped um, Jonathan Brooks in college was being behind Bijan. So that's why he did not have as productive
Yeah.
of a career. Was he was behind Bijan and then he got hurt. So
Right.
when he played, he looked great, but we'll see. So 204. Oh, who you got at 204?
Jonathan Brooks.
Oh, okay. And this is when I finally got around to taking Troy Franklin.
Yeah.
Troy Franklin, like I said, super productive in college. It's just that he didn't have a great combine. He's underweight for his size. I mean, if I remember correctly, I think he's 6'3", 180-ish. Like, that's long and lanky. So,
Randy Moss.
yeah, okay, fine. Compare him to the best skinny guy ever. Like, fine.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
Yep, no, I'm with you. All right, 205.
Trey Benson.
Yeah, so this is where you got Trey Benson. Like I said, I think these running backs are going to shift a lot based on landing spot. I got Jalen Wright here, who, coming out of Tennessee, Tennessee players have been weird in the NFL, depending, but Jalen Wright absolutely smashed the combine with his performance. So I think it's going to get him a shot somewhere. Thinking about this now, I might probably have him a little higher than I'd probably take him in a draft at this point, but what the hell? This was a mock draft and it's going to change anyways.
So we could do 50 mock drafts and everybody would be different spot every time.
Yep. All right, 206.
Roman Wilson.
Yeah, wide receiver out of Michigan. I have him a bit later than you. He is the type of I think the comp I've heard for him is like Tyler Boyd, right? He's going to be a very solid NFL wide receiver, but he's not going to be a game breaker, right? Like he'll have his one or two games here and there, um, but he's not going to be your star that's going to win you a league. But he can be a
And
solid performer for you. Put him in a flex spot and get a
yeah,
few guaranteed points.
I don't remember why I put him at 6, I'll be honest. But as you're talking about him, like that was the thing. It was like he's just solid. And it's just like he's not gonna get you 50, but he's gonna get you 15
Yeah.
weekend, 11, 15, like
10, 11
week
is a
in,
bit more
week
likely. Yeah.
out, and then all of a sudden he gets 2 touchdowns in a game, and you're like, sweet, like that's the type of fantasy player that you're looking like that he is, and I
Yep.
think if I remember correctly, that's why I have him where he's at.
Yep. So this is where I took Bo Nix once again in the Superflex league. You
3 picks back from me. Come
yeah. I
on.
mean, in a Superflex, he's worth a shot. You know, you need more than one quarterback on a team, so a middle second round pick, depending on when he goes in the NFL draft. The next two picks, we actually have the same picks again. Look at that. 207, Xavier Leggett. Now, by the way, I sent through a video of Xavier Leggett in an interview. If you haven't heard this guy talk,
He's a good old boy.
you need to go listen to him talk because, like, what I expected him to sound like is not what he sounds like whatsoever. Like, he's straight out the country. Like, it is funny. Xavier Leggett, I can't remember if we talked about on the last episode because it's been a while. His college production is like mind blowing because he was a stud last year, like 1,200 yards.
This is South Carolina. He's from South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did like nothing for the previous 4 years.
Correct.
Like, absolutely insane.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so he's one of those guys, like I said, the explanation of why he didn't perform until last year, but he looked explosive. He had a good combine, big, strong, fast. Like, there's potential there.
He's definitely on the radar.
Yep. And then our next matching pick,
Keon Coleman
out of Florida State, another big guy. He was, if I remember correctly, he was a big guy, a big play threat in Florida State. Didn't have a great showing at the combine, but there's potential, the right landing spot. There's a lot of need out there for wide receiver, so give him a chance.
Yeah.
209. Who you got?
Bucky Irving.
The tiny little slow guy? You like tiny little slow running backs, apparently?
I don't remember why I put him here.
Okay, well.
It was so long ago. But I don't remember. I think it may have just been to like mess with you. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I could see you doing something like that. He had a horrible combine. He's a small guy. And if, like, Devon Achane was a small guy, but he was ridiculous track speed fast, right?
Yeah.
Bucky Irving showed up to the combine and did not have a good showing, was a lot slower than he needed to be. He was productive at Oregon, but I just don't know if it's going to translate to the NFL.
I had read some stuff at some point in time that made me believe, but I mean, just another running back. I don't know.
So here I took Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver out of Florida. Like, he's not one of the top prospects, but getting him at the back of the second, I think NFL wise, he'll probably be like an early second round pick. Great hands, great showing at the combine. He had a catch early last season that was stunning. If you didn't see it, one-handed catch. Like, I think he's another one who will be a solid NFL wide receiver. May not be, a game breaker, but can be consistently productive.
He's gonna,
landing spot dependent.
Is he gonna sit on your taxi squad for a year? Or is he gonna be like? Yeah, think about that too. Like, as a manager, like who do I have? Like,
right.
And then is he just gonna be productive and be, on my taxi squad, or is he gonna take up a bench spot that might be needed by somebody else? I don't know.
So, all right, 210.
All right, I finally took Jalen Wright.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about him. Here's where I
Yeah.
got around to taking Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin. If I remember correctly, he's 6'3", 240, big bruising back. I put him late in the second because if he goes to a spot where they are looking for a goal line back, he's the best option in this draft, pretty much, for, somebody who can come in and score 8 to 10 touchdowns as a rookie just by getting those short yards. Um, so if he lands in the right spot, could be a useful fantasy asset. I don't think he's a 3 down back. I don't think he's lighting the world on fire. I don't think he's an RB1, but he could get you some fantasy points.
Yeah.
211. Both of us matched again. Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. Another good showing at the combine. He didn't have the most production in college, but because he was at USC with the Caleb Williams show, right? Like they ran the offense through Caleb Williams. When Marshawn Lloyd got the shot, he looked good. When you look at what he got as a percentage of their running game, he was good, but they just didn't run the ball a ton. So could he show up in the NFL? It's possible. Once again,
Absolutely.
another one that depends on landing spot.
Yeah.
So all right, last pick.
Ricky Pearsall.
Pearsall. We just talked about him a minute ago. This is where you took Ricky Pearsall. And this is where I took
Pearsall.
So this is where I took Roman Wilson. As I said, Roman Wilson, I think, will be a solid NFL receiver. I just don't think he's a, fantasy stud that's going to break the it's not going to be a league winner, but he's a solid baseline type of
I mean,
guy.
we talked about both those players already, but it's like, yeah.
Like I
Could
said,
you interchange the last 6 picks? Yes. Like that's the thing. It's like that. I don't.
so much of this is gonna I think a lot of the players on here would probably remain in the first 2 rounds, maybe with some shifting depending on where they end up. Like I said, it's a
100%.
huge difference when you're taken at 32 to 31 to the 49ers, 32 to the Chiefs versus being taken 33 to the Panthers or 34 to the Commanders kind of deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with where these guys land, and it'll have some large impacts.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
What? The door's opening?
Hello.
What's happening? Hey, buddy, what you doing?
What do we got?
But I know something was going on. Somebody said we're not gonna get to 1 million subscribers for some reason.
We're gonna get to 1 million subscribers.
Why can't we put them on? Subscribe to the channel. Then that might help Dana get into one.
Oh, you're gonna help Dana get to 1 million subscribers?
Yeah.
If you like and subscribe?
No, and also if you help us get to 1 million subscribers, I'm gonna give you a cookie.
Oh, wait, we're giving out cookies?
Oh,
Wait a second, that might cost me a lot of money.
Oh, and also don't forget to like the video because
Oh,
we get 1
thanks.
million likes. I'll also give you another cookie. Hey, you know what? It's 2 cookies.
2 cookies! If you like and we get to 1 million, I gotta buy everybody 2 cookies? That's 2 million cookies. I'm going broke.
See you guys.
Bye. Hey, why does the other one always end up on the floor? All right. Thanks, guys. Oh, they're
Hello,
fun
kids.
sometimes. They are amusing.
Fantastic. 1 million subscribers?
Apparently, Carson says we're getting to 1 million.
Do I get cookies for already being a subscriber?
No, you get no cookies. But bro, think about even if I buy cheap cookies, how much is that going to cost?
Janelle's gonna have to start baking.
Janelle's gonna have to get a job on the corner or something if I'm paying for these cookies. Ooh, buddy. All right, I might have to sell both kidneys. I'd sell my liver, but I think it's
no one wants it.
Well, it was fun getting back to doing this again, but
yes, it's been too long.
We should not spend as much time. NFL drafts in 6 days, so
Yeah.
we're gonna have to talk about what happened and how this is gonna impact Dynasty after that. So
Yes. So we won't talk again until after the draft.
yeah, no, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to talk again before it. But Thursday night, if I remember correctly, 8 p.m. Eastern, I think.
Something like that.
So yeah, good times, bud. Well, thanks, buddy.
It's gonna make for a good season.
I'm excited. All right,
Cheers.
talk to you later, bud. Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.